Hello, everyone. This is Ankur Joshi. I'm the founder and CEO of Nuclei. Welcome to the podcast. Nuclei is a FinTech company where we work with a variety of banks and implement our products across multiple verticals in the banks. This podcast is about speaking to various leaders in the industry. And today I'm honored to have Puneet Chhahira from Infosys Finacle on the podcast. Puneet, thank you so much for giving us your time and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ankur, for inviting me. It's my pleasure and privilege to join you today.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all ours. So Puneet, before we get into what you do at Infosys Finacle and what are the key problem statements that you're trying to solve, I would want to dig a bit deeper into your background and try and understand, where you're from, what was your background, what are the key challenges that you faced while growing up, what are the, inflection points, benchmark shifts that happened in your journey, right? Like anyone who has worked with you or who looks up to you would definitely want to understand your background and, see what they can replicate maybe.
Thank you, Ankur. Let me start with my professional journey and then perhaps I'll go back a little bit on personal journey as well. So first, I've been with Infosys Finacle for over 17 years, so that's a long time already. But fortunately, I was lucky enough to have opportunities to work in different roles. I started my journey in Infosys Finacle in consulting role. Post that, I moved to product management, and post that, I got responsibility in marketing, and after that, product and platform strategy. Today, I'm responsible for marketing and platform strategy for the Finacle business at Infosys. Prior to that, I came from financial services. My last assignment was with Bajaj Allianz. I was very fortunate to join the insurance industry at a very early days when it was getting open to the private insurers. Those were very exciting times. We were having growth unheard of. We used to add, nearly 4 branches a month. So it was exciting times in that insurance before I came. Prior to that, I did my master's in marketing and finance from Symbiosis Pune and a computer science engineering before that. Personally speaking, I grew up in Chandigarh. Very fortunate. Pretty much entire my school education has been in Chandigarh. My father worked for Haryana Welfare Department, and that's how Chandigarh became a home for us. And for last 17 years now, I have been in Bangalore. Prior to that, I have worked in Hyderabad, Mumbai, Kanpur, and for some time in Mysore in between. And internationally, I've traveled because of my role extensively, but spent significant time in consulting time in Singapore.
Okay, awesome. That's really good to know. You have spent a lot of time at Infosys. What's the key reason behind that? Like, what is it so different about Infosys? And I know so many people who have, served for 15, 20 years at Infosys. And knowing a few people personally, I understand, the difference, the culture, not to say the insanely beautiful campuses which Infosys has, right? But what is it really about Infosys that, makes sure that people stick around for so long?
Some of it you already mentioned. I think it's an organization where culture is extremely positive. I think that's really the foundation, and a lot of that credit goes to our founders. What was our motto, which is under promise, over deliver, genuinely has been the motto of the organization, and extremely humble leadership, extremely authentic leadership. I think has been an inspiring part. Beyond the organization, I think in my own personal journey, the fact that while I've stayed in 17 years, I got opportunity to change roles, and some of my roles have been extremely different roles. Moving from consulting to product management to marketing to platform strategy. These opportunities have kept me going. So that means even though I was part of the same organization, every few years I got an opportunity to play a different role. Another fact, Finacle has been the most successful product offering from our country. So I have always felt that in the technology space, it's great to be in a product organization because not only you can influence through your product, through your work, and improve the lives of so many people that product touches. You also can carve out a very streamlined way of the way you would like your career to evolve as compared to if you're in a services business. And over my journey itself, Finacle has introduced over a dozen new offerings. That's been another exciting part, that we were working on many new things throughout. I would say these are some of the reasons. And I think at the end of it, it's also the purpose. Our organization purpose has been that we want to inspire better banking, better ways of consuming banking. And the fact that our software today is in 100 countries, as in and touches lives of over 1 billion people and 1.7 billion account run on our software, it's a big responsibility as well as a big opportunity for us to do well.
Correct.
I think it's also association with that purpose which has kept me going, and it is always unfinished agenda. So I'm hoping there's more time to go.
That's really inspiring to hear. So, I mean, in your current role, specifically with respect to marketing and more with respect to the platform strategy role which you have taken up recently, right? What are the big challenges that you're, trying to solve?
So let's go one role at a time. I think let's start with say marketing to begin with. Um, I think we have class full situation. The good news is the Finacle business is incubated in an extremely respected and very stable organization, Infosys. So we have a great credibility of delivering value through our product and services in the Infosys. So that's an incredibly good starting point for a business like us. Over the years, we have also built extremely significant credibility for our business, whether you look at in terms of customer experience and feedback, you look at independent assessments. I'll give you a few examples. In software industry, many of us look at what industry analysts are saying about various offerings, whether you look at Finacle for its core banking offering, corporate banking offering, digital engagement offering, you would find we are extremely competitively placed. In fact, most often than not, we are on top right in most of the quadrants or waves or similar assessment. If you also look at customer feedback, which is publicly available in several portals, you would always find like any software provider, we would have a balanced feedback, but comparatively extremely positive. And I think it has a lot to do with the culture which I talked about. At the same time, we know we can't sit on this legacy. There is so many areas where we have to build brand recognition. Like, for example, the fact that we were so successful in core banking has in some sense shadowed our offerings in the other areas. For example, our digital engagement suite or our corporate banking, because people saw us extremely a significant player in that space. So there's work to be done on that side. Similarly, in certain markets, we have a market leading share. So automatically the brand build reach is extremely high. In some other markets, our market share is relatively low. So there is a lot of work to be done in expanding our market share. Also, something which is we're gonna discuss a little bit more on platform strategy. Over the years, our business model is evolving. Traditionally we used to sell our software through licenses, and then we would have AMC on top, and obviously offer implementation services either directly or through our SI partners. Increasingly, we are leaning towards cloud and SaaS ways of working. It requires us to share that market messaging. Also, over the years, we have made very significant investment in a corporate banking and business banking space. Again, for any software vendor, as has been for any universal bank, retail banking has been more prominent business. Over the years, we made so significant investment, and also the banks are making very significant investments to improve the experience of their enterprise customers. There is a significant tailwind for our business in that area, and that's an area where we have to further enhance our brand recognition and generate demand, and essentially share the stories of how our clients are able to leverage our solutions to create greater value for their stakeholders, both customers, their own users, as well as eventually investors in form of better outcomes.
Yeah, awesome. So when we met earlier this week, we of course spoke in depth about the corporate internet banking and the potential it has across the world. And of course, over the years, the focus had been on retail banking for most of the banks, but we also see that changing across multiple geographies, that now more and more banks are focusing on corporates because that's where the high ROI margins are going to come in. With respect to platform strategy, right? Like, what are the other platforms? And I mean, it's a very uh, heavily discussed topic across the world, that
Yes.
everyone wants to become a platform. Amazon is a platform. Everyone, Stripe is a platform. Everyone wants to become a platform, but very few succeed, right? Very few platforms have truly succeeded and have had a global footprint. Finacle, of course, is one of the biggest success stories out of India. Uh, which other platforms, do you look up to? You think that have really done well across the world? Could be across industries as well, not necessarily from the BFSI sector.
Yeah. I think let me start by sharing, Ankur, that many a times when we use the word platform, we all end up looking at different meaning of this word simply because it's used rather loosely, and there's limited standardization. So at our organization, we love to look at platform in four key important buckets. First of all, first bucket is the technology platforms. These are the platform which you can use to build any software, for any kind of businesses. For example, you would say, Java is a platform, or our AI platform which Infosys offer. These are not necessarily you use directly. These are platform on which you build business applications which businesses use. Then we call second as application platforms. These are platforms like Finacle, wherein you're creating business applications which are used by variety of enterprises. Could be horizontal applications or a vertical application like Finacle. They could be largely, from our perspective, should be consumed as a service in a software as a service mode. But that's application platform. The third platform definition which we use internally is business process platforms. These are platform where you consume business services rather than just the application or software services. For example, we have a mortgage processing platform which we acquired from ABN AMRO a couple of years ago in Netherlands. It runs over 50 banks and fintechs, as well as several other mortgage providers, wherein the entire mortgage processing, ranging from origination to processing to collections, is done as a service.
Okay.
Where apart from software, you're bringing in people to run those operations as well. That's our business process platform. And then you have those multi-sided platform, which are obviously extremely popular, likes of Uber, Airbnb, where you bring multiple sites of participants together, or something which you are attempting yourself through as an integrator between banks and the variety of service providers. So those are multi-sided platforms, and we have also in Infosys built something around our trade edge platform, a similar kind of offering. As an organization, Infosys, we trade across all these four domains with different degree of successes and offerings across all. And as a business, of course, we are interested in finding right opportunities to create value. So that's what we are doing at Infosys level. If you look at Finacle particularly, I shared with you, our approaches is how do we go more towards SaaS-based and cloud-based offering instead of license-based offering. Even further going, how do we work with our clients to create greater value on our software, either having a BaaS kind of partnerships or enabling ecosystem innovation, like the work which we do with you. Our FinTech Connect platform is also a component of our platform strategy, wherein how do we bring a larger ecosystem of innovation together to our client instead of just offering the Finacle or Infosys capabilities. So there are various such dimensions to it, and we are actively investing in it so that we can create value in line with the way industry is evolving or is looking at us to evolve.
Absolutely. I mean, we are absolutely honored to be partners of Infosys on this, and really looking forward to going across multiple markets with you. So thank you so much for that description. It was really nicely structured, and gave a lot of clarity in terms of how a platform particularly gets defined across multiple verticals. Uh, Let me maybe with that question, maybe also take up another pertinent point, which is again loosely discussed. There's a lot of noise around neobanks, right? And I think you
Yep.
have also written about it some time back. Uh, of course, there is a lot of noise that neobanks are going to replace banks, but we have been hearing that for the last now nearly 10 years. And personally, I have not seen any neobank create a dent in a existing bank. At least personally, I have not seen. There are few banks which have maybe expanded the market. Nubank in Latin America, of course, comes to mind. Revolut comes to mind from uh, Europe, right? They have definitely expanded the market, brought in new innovation, brought in new products. But very few banks, I can't even remember any name which has made a dent. So my question is, do banks really need to worry that these neobanks are going to make a dent in their business? That is one. Second, what do neobanks have to do to create a differentiation? Because most of the neobanks are being built on top of banks' APIs, right? So
Yep.
more or less, a lot of neobanks are just a front-end interface between the customers, right? And if at all there are any business areas from a bank's perspective which are at risk of getting, affected or impacted by neobanks. Sorry, like it's a three-part question, but please take up whichever you want to.
Sure. See, I'm no expert on a neobank or bank protecting their turf, but I'll share considering I get an opportunity to work with both sides of players in my role on where do I feel the balance lie. First, I agree with your uh, initial premise that no single neobank has made a very significant dent in the market. But at the same time, I would also like to put forward that if you start looking at variety of neobanks which are coming in variety of product focused area or customer segment focused area, collectively they'll start making dent in the market because they're in some sense nibbling away some part of opportunity from the traditional scape. At the same time, you're also right that in many cases there's so much of market expansion possible. If you look at growth markets, like for example, India, irrespective of the product you look at, you would realize whether it is deposits, lending, insurance, wealth, there is so much more penetration which we need in our country. So in that sense, I do feel that this plays for all. It's not either or conversation as sometimes it is made out to be. So there's more to go, but the point remains, how would you differentiate? In my opinion, I think the differentiation needs to start coming at three levels. One different level is first, who are you going after? What is your value proposition? And I think that's incredibly important and difficult thing to solve for. Uh, for example, I love all neobanks which clearly say that I'm going after ABC segment and I'm going to try and solve that problem of that segment way differently than anybody can, simply because they can't give that kind of attention and time to solve those problems.
Correct.
So that means all those guys who have a very clearly defined purpose on the segments they are going after is going to have a greater degree of success to my mind, simply because as we go forward in our journey of evolving banking as a service capability at the bank level, it'll be even more easier to compose a neo-banking offering compared to what early age neobank have done. If they took few years to get on the ground, you will see more and more banks will take few months, and hopefully there'll be a time that you can actually get a few weeks time to get an offering right. The second piece, which I think is essentially about engagement piece, is extremely tricky to manage. If you think of it, let's take our UPI example. Today, there are nearly 5.9 billion or nearly touching 6 billion transactions happening a month. And there are over 60 app, if I'm not wrong, from both incumbent banks, neo banks, which can allow you to make UPI payment. Yet, for variety of reasons, over 80% are done only by Google Pay and Phone Pay. And uh, and there is, if you look at even going further, um, likes of PhonePe and Google Pay want to be a marketplace for financial services as well, are not stopping at the payment. Today, you can go on Google Pay, for instance, and take a fixed deposit. Unlike past, you never entered a branch, you never met a relationship manager, you never went to online banking, you never met to their mobile banking. You're directly engaging with Google Pay and buying a fixed deposit, and after maturity, the money is going back to whichever funding account you choose. That's a big disruptor. That means even neobank has some other players who are disrupting them as they are trying to disrupt the traditional bank. That dynamics makes it even more interesting and more challenging because and that's where my point comes back, that unless you have a genuine differentiation, genuine focus on which segments market problem you're going to genuinely solve very differently than anybody else, simply because you're going to put a lot of attention, lot of passion into solving that unique problem, is very difficult to differentiate. And also the monetization piece. Um, I I know a lot of lending neobanks. They would struggle as for example, the interest rates going up. It's and anybody who has transitioned from neobank to obviously deposit taking institution wherever it is allowed through regulatory mechanism, you can see the differences in their books simply because lending without having a deposit franchise is extremely expensive and difficult. So I think there are challenges, but I am excited about the opportunity simply because that composing a business so rapidly hasn't happened in our industry for very long. I mean, right? And we are in a very early stage. So I wouldn't commit myself to any path saying that it is a done deal. I think it's a very evolving segment. In fact, I am as a personally, I love to open relationship with many of both traditional banks, challenger banks and neo banks. Many of them are our clients. And like to work as much as possible through my professional capability as well as personal interest uh, to see how the industry can advance from here on. And I do believe there is a place, particularly in a country like India, for all for now, but they have to find a differentiation.
No, absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely right that it's not a zero-sum game for sure. There is a lot of market depth which is still untapped. There is a lot of potential in the market, which not even all the traditional banks have tapped into, and that's where a particular neobank with a laser focus on a particular segment or a particular geography, it could be anything, right? A particular product, a particular geography, can just go deep into it and leverage that opportunity. So that's definitely a possibility. Absolutely. And also a big opportunity, not just for India, but and not just maybe for emerging markets, right? Even for advanced markets, developed markets, there are still opportunities which are untapped.
Yep.
And uh, for example, Revolut, like they clearly saw that opportunity and leveraged it. So that's something, but definitely it's not a zero-sum game. Although keep hearing from banks that there are still certain areas where they feel that new banks could make a dent. I also feel that banks also need to keep up, specifically from a customer experience and engagement perspective, where traditionally they have not, kind of kept pace with the newer tech companies, but definitely they need to keep pace there. Absolutely. Puneet, I know we are short on time. My last question to you, and this has got nothing to do with what you do at Infosys Finacle. What is the kindest thing, or it could be multiple things, that anyone has done for you?
As we started this conversation, we talked about that we're going to cover a topic like this. There are many things which come to my mind, but if I have to choose one, I think people around me have been very kind to allow me to pursue areas and take up responsibilities where I didn't have an established credibility. So to me, that's been a big kindest thing anyone could do. For example, and every role I did, I always felt this is my lifetime role. When I did consulting, I enjoyed the most. I did product management. I felt that that is what I wanted to do. And then marketing happened, and then obviously product platform strategy role, and all of it have allowed me to work with our clients, work with our partners with a slightly different dimension. And to me, that has been an extremely valuable journey if I have to reflect and look back. And I want to just say thank to all my mentors who allowed me to do that or who encouraged me to do that. In some cases, persuaded me to do that. I would count that as the biggest blessing.
That's really nicely put because a lot of times people confuse money for wealth. But in true sense, the freedom to operate, freedom for your time and your decision making, right? Uh, that comprises true wealth, and that's what you really value over a period of time. So really nicely put, Puneet. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate and thanks for giving us your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure and privilege, Ankur. Thank you so much for having me today, and looking forward to building the business together.
Same here, Puneet. Thank you.